Hello, the internet. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another live episode of Enter the Popverse. Fun fact, this is our 30th episode, 30. Can you believe we've been doing this for 30 weeks? Can you believe that 2023 is 30 weeks over 30 weeks? It's actually more than that because we started in March. But can you believe there's been 30 weeks this year? Because I feel like I just blinked and Star Wars Celebration ended. But I am so happy to be here with you today and each and every single Friday here in the Popverse. I am Ashley Victoria Robinson, your video producer and host here in the Popverse. And of course, Enter the Popverse is our weekly roundup chat show where we talk all things comic books and pop culture that has gone on in the last 7 days. The Popverse is, if you didn't know, a virtual realm created by ReedPop. It's kind of purple in my Popverse, so welcome to it. My friends, if you want to know anything more about what we're getting up to or any of the incredible stories that we talk about or that we have written over the past week, you can, of course, visit thepopverse.com to read the full story. And I want to show you something. You may remember a couple weeks ago when our streamer updated and everything was square, and I had a little bit of a meltdown about that here with you, my friends. Look what I can do. I can turn it back. It's a nice organic round shape. Whew. Our long national nightmare is over. All the graphics look like they did before. Once again, that's a joke for everyone who watched this 3 weeks ago. Of course, please visit thepopverse.com. It's my favorite place on the internet. I'm sure it's going to be your favorite place on the internet. And for the full and complete experience, get yourself a Popverse membership. That gets you access to not only all the video, written and photo content that we do each and every single day, but when we do incredible live events like the upcoming New York Comic-Con, this gives you access in case maybe you can't be in New York, or maybe you want to be in one panel room while something else is going on in another panel room. You get the full and complete virtual experience with a Popverse membership. Speaking of New York, I am going to be in New York October 12th to 15th, along with the rest of the Popverse family. Pretty much the entire ReedPop family, to be honest. New York Comic-Con is going to be a very exciting weekend for us. I'm going to be hosting the Ewan McGregor main stage panel and getting up to all kinds of fun stuff. You'll be able to see me running in a panic across the Javits all weekend long. So if you don't have a ticket yet, there's a couple stragglers left. If you need full information, NewYorkComicCon.com is the place to get it. Let's see who's here in the chat. Jake Hefner, as always. Top of the morning, Poppers. Top of the morning to you, my friend. Happy Friday, Tiffany Babb. Thank you for holding it down for us today. Tom Trainer agreeing this year is rocketing to a close, and I just want it to stop. True, but I have to say, like, I'm very here for spooky season. Summer is overrated, and I'm sick and tired of it. So bring on the fall scented candles. Yawn. I know that's supposed to be yay, but I'm just dragging Jeremy Skinner because I know him personally, and this is the person that I am. Happy 30th. And Popverse letting us know that the full New York Comic-Con live stream, so everything that you can get with your Popverse membership, some of the things you can get without a Popverse membership, everything that we are live streaming, you can find right here. Ooh, the graphics are bigger than my arms go. But there's a lot of fun stuff. And the full article is probably bigger than my arms go too, because like I said, there's a lot that we're getting up to. New York Comic Con is one of my favorite comic conventions in the whole wide world, all the ding dang time every single year. And I'm really, really excited that we're getting to share this much with you because we've been working on it and we are still working on it. And it's going to be freaking amazing. Okay, it was definitely supposed to be gay. We love a typo. You should see what my Slack looks like. Without further ado, friends, let's do some comic book news. Please join me in putting your hands together in the traditional Theater Kid round of applause to welcome to Unspool, honestly, so many stories in such a short time, my unofficial unwilling co-host, Graeme McMillan. Hi, Graeme.
Again, willing. I'm willing. You could, like, I'm in a different city than you. You couldn't make me do this if I wasn't willing.
I just really, as a young woman, I like the idea that I can browbeat a man into doing what I wanted to do against
I mean, you can also browbeat me into things. That's also true. Both things can be true.
Oh my gosh. Graeme, how's your week been?
My week has been crazy, in part because of all the New York Comic Con rollout stuff that was happening. The live stream list is vast.
It's ambitious.
There's
and
an incredible amount of things that people are going to be able to see on the internet because of us.
Is there anything that you are particularly looking forward to doing while we're in New York?
I'm very much looking forward to your McGregor panel, actually. In
Don't say that.
sorry, I hate to tell you.
Pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. In part because I am ready to just rush onto the stage if strikes are still going on and no one can talk about any projects. And
Yeah.
I'm asking questions about growing up in Perth. I am ready.
I was trying to construct a joke about you being a Scottish person watching me talk to another Scottish person.
I'll just heckle from the audience.
All right, so now you have to watch the live stream. All of the viewers of Enter the Popverse to watch Graeme
to see this unofficial episode of Enter the Popverse.
Yeah. Tiffany holding it down. Wow, Graeme, a celebrity. Graeme is the most important celebrity we've ever had, and also we know from some page views that Graeme is like the Popverse celebrity. So that's not even like a joke. That's a true and scientific fact. You don't have to trick me. I'm your friend. Tom Trainer, so sweet. I'm not going to be in New York, but I'm also looking forward to Ashley's Ewan McGregor panel. Stop. There's too much pressure.
Guys, no pressure.
All right, enough about that. Let's talk about comics. Graeme.
Let's talk about comics. Can we talk about comic book characters who have crazy names?
Yes. Okay, let me pull up. There was so much that happened in comics, but all of it is very silly. So we just wanted to talk about it this week. Let's start with Crytoon, who honestly feels like a Webtoons competitor.
Crytoon is the greatest name. You and I were talking before we started this. I think Batman Gargoyle of Gotham is such a good book. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful book. I really enjoyed that first issue. I somehow blanked out in my brain that he's called Crytoon. Because Crytoon is an astonishing name. It is, in the best way, a silly name. You know, this is also one of two characters this week who have very, very silly names. There's something great about it, though, right?
It's kind of what. So I'm going to leave the art up a little bit longer than I usually do because Raphael Grandpa is just beautiful. Like next level, like incredible, iconic. And I do think the greatest strength of this character from what we've seen thus far is the look. Like the character looks amazing.
Oh, this comic is, even if you don't like Batman, just get the comic for the art. It's astonishingly beautiful.
Yeah, take it, flip through it, enjoy it, screenshot it, share it, promote it. That's the best thing. But the name Crytoon, like at first blush, I'm like, oh wow, that's silly. And then I remind myself that the concept of Batman to begin with is incredibly silly.
Well, he's also called Batman.
Like it's
just gotten used to that now.
Creative.
We've just gotten used to Batman, but you know, Batman. But also, Crytoon makes sense in the context of the character, right? Because he's influenced by the cartoons. He's based on, you know, the inherent tragedy behind the cartoons. So it makes sense as a name. But then you see it in the headline and you're like, Crytoon. Like you said, you're like, oh, it's sad webtoons.
Yeah.
Like that's the first place your brain goes to.
Which, like, I don't know about anyone else who reads webtoons, but I do read a lot of like very sad, emo-y kind of webtoons. So like that could be a subcategory.
Like, I love my Crytoons.
Yeah. But if people check out the article, there's a lot of great quotes from Raphael Grandpa about where this character comes from, and he seems to be deeply personal. And there's also a lot of clown mythology, which seems to tie into the creation of this character. And I think it might leave some people wondering, isn't this just the Joker redux? And it's very much not that.
Very much not that. There's a wonderful sort of so he's called Crytoons. There's a very understatedness to Crytoon as opposed to the Joker. You know, it's he is his own character, which I really much like, and also it fits very much into what Grandpa's doing with Batman. It's a really good issue. It's a really good issue.
Can you tell me some of the things that you liked about the issue as well?
Besides the fact that it is absolutely beautiful, like I said, Grandpa. Yes, Tiffany, I completely agree. Grandpa supremacy. It's a style of writing that I don't think we've seen very often in Batman recently. I think we've been leaning much more towards. Well, I
love that.
And I say this as someone who is very much enjoying both Batman and Detective right now.
Yeah.
There is sort of an exploration of Batman as a character, as a human being. And one of the things I really like about Gargoyle of Gotham is it's almost sort of mythical to the point where part of the plot is Batman's like, I don't need Bruce Wayne anymore. I'm just going to kill Bruce Wayne off. Like that, you know, I'm just going to move on and be Batman all the time. But the book itself is doing that. It's sort of taking this character on this unrealistic level and sort of dealing with him as a myth, which is a really, really... It fits with the art, but also it's a really nice change from what we're seeing in like Zdarsky's Batman or Being Detective right now.
And Gargoyle Gotham...
Sorry, I was going to say, I say that as someone who thinks that Gotham War is great. I'm loving the Batman books right now. I really am.
I was going to say that Gotham War is also kind of... It's not an Elseworlds, like that's completely incorrect, but it's this sort of self-contained single universe removed from continuity story. So with the introduction of a new villain, I wonder, do you think Crytoon... I'm never going to get over the name. I'm sorry, Raphael Grandpa. I love you so much. Like, I would love to chat with you someday. I'll never get over that name. It makes me giggle every single time. Do you think that Crytoon is the type of villain that we could see, like, leaking over into mainstream continuity and being part of Batman larger mythos going forward?
I almost hope not. There's something that is so wonderfully self-contained about this that I love the idea that this is going to be something that will only exist. But, you know, we could have said the same about Harley Quinn back when the animated show
Queen
started.
of all DC.
Yeah, exactly. And then look what happened.
Also,
so we'll see.
If anyone doesn't know, speaking of Harley Quinn, Arlene Sorkin, who was the original voice and inspiration for Harley Quinn, passed recently. And I would encourage you to check out some of her other work because it's not struck work. And she's amazing. So, all right, I made us sad. We talked about a sad villain. Let's hop over to the Marvel side of things. Graham, I don't know if you know this about me, but I really love 90s comics. 90s comics are some of my favorite comics. And it seems like
I don't know why.
Tim Drake is why.
Hellverine.
What is this?
Hellverine. Hellverine.
Best name or worst name?
Yes, is the answer. If you thought Crytoon was too subtle, meet Hellverine. A demonic Wolverine. I kind of love this. It's from the Ghost
awesome.
Rider. It's from the Ghost Rider Wolverine series that Ben Percy's currently writing. And again, a really fun book and a ridiculous name for a character. It is very 90s though. I was not a 90s fan. I lived through the 90s and I was the right age to go, Image comics are terrible. I'm going to read Vertigo comics. That was me. I was the terrible kid, right? And now I've been going back and reading a lot of the 90s comics now. And Hellverine is not just name-wise, but like look-wise, he's got a flaming head. Like he's Wolverine with a flaming head. But concept-wise, he is a really 1990s character. Like he could come straight out of like 93's Marvel. And that's kind of great. It genuinely is.
I have to say, too, I find Ben Percy, I love Ben Percy's work. He also has the best voice in comics. If you've never, ever heard
Ben Percy,
you must.
The first time I ever talked to Ben Percy was a phone interview.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, have they hired an actor to do this interview? And Ben's just like feeding him lines. Yeah, he has the greatest voice in comics.
When he was writing the Wolverine audio drama, I don't remember what streaming service it was Spotify or Stitcher. I'm sorry, but I don't mean
it was Sirius XM, I think.
There you go, Scott. I didn't even get it kind of right.
I might be wrong. It might be somewhere else.
When he was writing that, I was like, is Ben just going to be doing the voice of Wolverine?
Right.
But it was Richard Armitage instead, also, who's also a really good choice for Wolverine. But Ben Percy, in my opinion, is one of the contemporary writers who is able to reach back into things from the 80s and the 90s that could be considered silly or schlocky and make them really relevant and interesting to a modern reader. Like in his Wolverine run, he went like hard for Patch of all characters.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
As well. Like there's a lot of Maverick in his
run.
And it's like Maverick of all people.
Do you think so Hellverine is also not only a mashup of these two characters, but was created through a conglomeration of both the Weapon X program and the use of dark magic in the
which again is so 1990s. Like I don't know if you read Marvel UK stuff in the 1990s.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, like you know that's Mystic all right there.
Yeah.
That's the whole gimmick.
Okay, so I want to ask the same thing that I asked about Crytoon. Does Hellverine have staying power? Is there any way that Hellverine exists and survives outside of this storyline?
100%. 100%. Do you not remember Hulkverine?
Do we? Yes, I do. Wait, do you think we get an action figure?
I would love an action figure.
Oh, like on Marvel Legends. Honestly, call Todd McFarlane and be like, we want a Hellverine action figure, please. I want to ask you this question that Popverse put up in our chat. What's your favorite 90s comic since you were too cool for Image?
Okay, so can I cheat and say Morrison's JLA? Because that's late.
Yes.
Okay, Morrison's JLA, because it's arguably the best Justice League.
Arguably, it is. Also,
I also have I shamefully have a fondness for Justice League Detroit. I genuinely have a very, very strong fondness for Justice League Detroit in the 80s. That's because I was like a kid when that was coming out. And so that is, I am the one person who's like Vibe and Steel, they're great.
I mean, Steel is great. I have a Steel action figure back here. You can't see it, but
come on, Vibe's great as well. Come on.
Hashtag Team Steel. Tom Trainer shouting out the Wade Flash run.
Yep.
Yes. Impulse.
Yep.
My favorite stuff is obviously the Robin, is all the Bat Family solo books, but particularly the Tim Drake Robin. Okay, so I just love this. So this is silly. So Crytoon is silly in a way that reflects like a really interesting and deep narrative. Hellverine is silly in the funnest way possible, and I love that both of them debuted this, or like sort of
it's so great. It's an accidental thing where they're like, it's 1990s week, everyone.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so to fill out our trifecta of like silly comics things this week, when Graham and I were figuring out what we were going to talk about for this episode, this is what I pitched we talk about. Ben Grimm's got a dog.
Okay, I love this very much. I love that headline so much. It's Slobberin time. It's the greatest headline.
Very well done.
I'm really enjoying the Fantastic Four run right now that Ryan North is writing, but I do want to say in this header image, where's Ben Grimm's neck?
Well, maybe he's like.
I just want to throw it out there. When you pitched this originally, I got really cynical about this. I am a dog person, as you know.
Yes.
There are 2 dogs in this house right now.
Go get them.
No. Dog. I'm really cynical about Ben Grimm's dog.
Why?
Because there's something in particular. There's something about the "we will not name the dog" at the end of the story. That is, it's Bitewing. It's Tom Taylor's Nightwing. They're trying to sort of recapture that.
Haley or Hallie?
It's Haley, isn't it?
I actually have no idea how it's pronounced, but that's the dog's actual name. Everyone calls her Bitewing, but it's after the story.
I know. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was not explaining that for you. I was explaining that for anyone who might be watching.
I know, but also, I'm sorry. A part of me was like, I do know that, but I'm not going to say that because
I know Bitewing is just much more satisfying. So, okay, the fact that the dog doesn't get a name, then let's do this question one more time. Do you think that Ben Grimm's dog is going to have any staying power? Is that why they're not named?
I really hope so, for the simple reason of the Fantastic Four is a family, and sure, they can have a family pet. I like that a lot. I worried that someone's going to give the dog powers.
Oh no! Oh,
do you know what I mean?
No, I didn't even think about
I worry that at some point they're going to get exposed to cosmic rays and they're going to have powers. But we have the Pet Avengers, so you could, in theory, join Pet Avengers.
That's true. I'm also like, when you were talking about like, they can have pets, my immediate thought was like, what about Herbie? But now I guess Herbie just has more to back him up.
That as well. I thought Herbie as a pet.
Yeah. I have 2 Herbies in the next room. We love a Herbie in this house.
Herbie, the replacement Human Torch, who's arguably better than Johnny. No offense, Johnny, but also.
I mean, is not everyone better than Human Torch? Also, why
Wingfoot is much better than Human Torch. I just want to throw that out there. Replace Johnny with Wyatt for a while.
Yes. Why does Ben Grimm have a Westie? Like,
why not?
Why a West Highland? Ben Grimm, if Ben Grimm is going to have a dog, should have the doggies. Like, Ben Grimm should absolutely have a golden retriever.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to say a pug.
Oh no, pugs are overrated. The whole internet's going to come.
I was going to say, and now the show is cancelled because everyone on the internet.
And my is at Graeme M on Twitter.
I thought he should have a pug because it makes sense to me that he would have a very ugly dog. Because the whole thing is like, Ben is a monster, but he's not a monster. He's got a heart of gold. So give him a dog that looks like a monster, but has a heart of gold.
And
that seems just like Ben Grimm. That seems like the obvious go-to. He's got a Westie because Westies are cute.
Oh, they're so cute. I mean, if you're going to have a little white dog, a Westie is the best little white dog you can have.
If you're going to have a little white dog, as someone who has a Papillon, no, you're wrong. You should have a Papillon.
Little white dog talk. Welcome to it. What I love about each and every one of these stories is that typically in Popverse, when we're breaking news about comics, it's because someone has died. Some awesome new characters.
It's a universe-changing event.
Yes, it's another at DC, it's another Crisis. At Marvel, it's another Secret Wars. And I just like that all of this now Crytoon is definitely in a story that is thematically and tonally quite dark. But I like that we've actually had a week where we can just kind of celebrate and laugh at all of the comics news. I really needed that this week.
No, here's the thing though. Comics should be fun, and superhero comics in particular should be fun.
Yeah.
Right? And you can have very dramatic, emotionally affecting comics. Like Zdarsky's Daredevil just ended, and that was amazing, and that was heart-wrenching. Right? But if that's all you have, if you only have sad, grimacing superheroes, something's gone horribly wrong in the world.
Dark Knight.
You know? Yeah. Like, you need fun, dumb, ridiculous superheroes. It's part of the genre. It's part of what makes superheroes amazing. One of the things I'm reading this week, and you will appreciate this, is old Alpha Flight comics.
I am also reading Alpha Flight right now.
Because I got a lot of Bill Mantlo back issues of Alpha Flight for very cheap last week. And they are some of the most ridiculous comics. They're some of the most crazily soap opera comics. Sasquatch dies and comes back as Snowbirds, and all of a sudden, like, Sasquatch
keep talking. I'm gonna get a prop and come back.
Well, I'm so excited. That's what this prop is gonna be. But you have these absolutely ridiculous storylines. You know, Sasquatch becomes a woman. You have Shaman becomes Talisman, becomes Shaman again. You have all the angst over who should be the leader and who shouldn't be. It's exactly, you understand.
I have the whole set. You better believe it.
But they are. It's this wonderful melodramatic, you know, even the tragedy, even the angst has this ridiculousness to it that it is remarkably fun. You know, that's superhero comics for me. That's what I want superhero comics to be. I want superhero comics to always have, like Morrison's GLA, have an air of knowingness that even the tragedy, even the sadness is temporary, because these are characters who can punch God in the face. You know?
Mm-hmm. Tom Trainer Action Figure Spotlight. That's a reference to my podcast, Geek History Lesson. And I will shamelessly plug it. We do have the entire Alpha Flight set. I was going to ask you, but you kind of were psychically bonded and you jumped my gun. I was going to ask you, like, what are you geeking out about right now? Because we stopped doing that every single week because it was
Bill
trying.
Mantlo's Alpha Flight. I'm really in a Bill Mantlo kick recently. Marvel's reissuing his Micronauts in his ROM next year, and I am thrilled.
We're finally getting ROM.
Yeah, they're doing hardcover omnibus of ROM.
What?
Yep.
I love that very much.
I know. These are, for people who have not read these, because you're not as old as I am, ROM and Micronauts are genuinely two of the best Marvel comics of the 1980s. Micronauts is some of the best science fiction comics Marvel has ever put out. And because they're based on toys, and toys that Marvel hasn't had license for.
They're very much shunted off into a corner and do whatever they want.
And there's omnibuses coming next year, and both of them are 100% well worth reading.
Also, thank you, Jake Hefner, for jumping on the shameless plug train with the best voice in comics, Ben Percy.
Oh yeah, no, for real. For people who haven't heard Ben Percy's voice, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Graham, we've talked approximately 2.5 times as long as we planned to about this. But that's
so I'll shut up now because there's someone more important that you have to talk to instead.
I thought this was going to be a shorter episode, but apparently everyone today is going to be quite verbose. Before I let you go, since you've already told us what you're geeking out about, remind everyone where they can follow you for your hot takes on bugs on Twitter.
You've already said.
I'm going to make you say it.
At Graeme M.
There you are.
My first name and my last initial.
First, last, initial. All right, Graham, thank you for joining us. I can't make my hand wave or the action figure wave.
Bye, Sasquatch.
I banish you back to the Popverse. All right, Sasquatch, thank you so much for your service, my fellow countrymen. I'm going to put you down. And fun fact, friends, this is not the only action figure I'm going to be holding in my hands before the end of this episode. This is really turning into an all collectibles all the time episode of Enter the Popverse. Friends, I'm always so glad when we get a chance to talk about comics and we get a chance to laud and celebrate comics, because they are the reason that we get to do so much of what we do here on Enter the Popverse, so much of what we do in Popverse in general across all of our mediums, and they're just very near and dear to my heart. So thank you everyone for Comics Roundup Corner. I had such a super fun, happy time. Now, I know you saw him on the thumbnail and you came here for the third Canadian of our chat. I was so lucky to be able to speak to Todd McFarlane last week, and now I'm going to share a chat with you. Okay, are you ready? Hold on to your butts. Join me in the second traditional theater kid round of applause. Popverse knows what's going on in welcoming and enjoying me with a different shirt, talking to Todd McFarlane. Oh, and are you gonna play? There we go.
What are you doing? How are you? Thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
How's your day been so far? Busy?
Killing it. I'm killing it today, and I'm always busy. So yeah, it's just someday I should probably write it all down. I have some crazy days, as you can imagine. So
the Todd McFarlane tell-all, I feel like would be a real moment in pop.
No, because they're going, what? Sometimes I go, oh, how do we pack all that into the day? And another day is like a little bit softer. But there, the piece is that there's no, like, people go, hey Todd, can I phone you on Thursday or whatever? And I'm like, I don't know what Thursday's gonna look like. That's 2 days from now, right? Like I don't even know what's gonna happen this afternoon. Come on. So get in the queue, and if it's a slow day, we're good. And if not, then we'll do it on Friday. But so anyway, you just you just do it till it gets done.
Yeah. I want to throw back a little bit to this year's San Diego Comic-Con, because you entered into this incredible partnership with Whatnot, and you really kicked off at San Diego in a huge way. So I would love to know, what has collaborating with Whatnot been like?
I don't know. Partnership's a big word, right? So we did some cool event on Whatnot. I've said before, I'm a curious guy, and I just sort of watch the world, and I'm not a believer in build it and they will come. I think that's a falsity. I'm a believer in build it, go find people, see where they're hanging out, and then get in their way and see if basically you can cause a little bit of trouble. So with Whatnot, I was aware of the platform sort of on a peripheral. And it was like, okay, trying to figure out what the value is. And when I'm trying to find out what the value is, I come at it differently because of where I'm at in my career and my sort of advanced age, whatever else, and I've got money. So I'm not looking at it in the same way that other people do, right? So if I was 20 being in my career, I'd be looking at all these experiments different than I do now. And so for me, it's like, how do you find new people to communicate with? Not to wring money out of their pockets. We can do that almost on any platform, but where they're new community. So for Whatnot, really the big question when I first started talking with them was, do you guys have a way in which I can just communicate with your audience and not sell anything? Right? Like, let's just talk. Let's do Q&A. Let's just do M&A, AMAs or something, a little bit like what you and I are doing right now. And then we do some giveaways or whatever else, but just not make it that we need money, that it's a money grab. Oh, and by the way, some of the times, maybe the majority of the times when we do ask for money, that the money is being raised for a good cause, right? I don't need it, right? I mean, of all the things I talk about when I go into any business stuff, like the money part of it is the least interesting piece of any conversation, right? Not so 20, 30 years ago when it mattered more, but it's like, it's not that interesting to me, because money is a byproduct of a good idea at a fair price. At a fair price, the money will always come. Will always follow those ideas. So why don't we come up with the good idea and worry about that later? Oh, and by the way, if I don't need the money, why don't we just give it away? Or why don't we just do giveaways or whatever? But more importantly, the value to me is, do you have an audience I can talk to? That to me is my victory. If I can talk to people and have conversations, then you might be able to convert them into a fan in the future. And the fan in the future, you may have them around for 20, 30, 40 years, right? So.
Well, talking about the span of how long someone's been a fan, I had to bring a very special friend to talk to you today who usually sits
old school.
Along OG. And I have the Kickstarter one up here too.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure that we brought him out to say hello.
So I'll tell you what's interesting about that figure is that in hindsight, it's really simple and not very good. But at the time we came up with it, it was like, oh my God, Todd, look at how far you've advanced it, right?
Yeah.
Years later, we actually did I think a 3-pack, which was like sort of Spawn toys along the way. And I think we put the OG in, and we put one in that was like from 5 years later, and then some other ones to show you how fast I learned the toy industry and what you were capable of doing or not doing, to just say, man, guys, if you got excited about that beginning one, which you guys were, because we won awards and stuff like that, it's like, now take a look, like just even 7 years later, what we were doing, it was, to me, night and day. It was basically some of the stuff I was railing against artistically. So yeah, I was a complete newbie coming into the toy business, so we didn't know what we were doing. And even though we got nice accolades and solid sales on it, the question at any time is, you should always be striving to do better or different, or innovate a little. I don't know, just like not repeat yourself, I guess. And so that's where the advancement came along.
So what are you trying to innovate right now? What are you striving toward right now?
Life. To some extent, I would like, I wish I was, like, I keep saying names Todd only rhymes with God, but I wish I could wave a wand and just go, excuse me, it's time to us to innovate and upgrade adults, because I think we act silly way too much. I got to start lowering my bar, my expectation of that word adult, because it's just, we're not very good at adulting, I don't think so. But anyways, I think we show way too much every day that we are emotional animals first and foremost, and the intellect is second, right? So I try not to let the first part get in the way of the second part, right? Just like, easy guys, you're acting, you're reacting way too quickly on this moment, right? Like, stop it. So, and oh, by the way, the people that are pushing your buttons are doing it intentionally because they know that you're emotional, right? So stop it. But anyways, I think that flaw has been there since the dawn of man. So I don't know if I'm going to have any cure for it before I drop dead. So
I would love to sort of take maybe that thought into the world of comics and ask, in your opinion, what are some of the biggest hurdles that like comic creators have in making amazing and iconic characters and then selling them very well? Because as you say, there's so many platforms, you can sell anything from any platform.
Are you just any character, anywhere, any place, or characters that people create for themselves? Are you just, is it general or a little bit more specific?
Ooh, let's do general, and then maybe we'll nail down on the specific.
I don't know. It's a weird one because there's a couple components to come up with a character people like. I think there's, the sort of the writing and who the character is and their persona, right? Of like what's driving them and what makes them, and that generally, for the most part, comes from the writer part of the house. And then the other one is, usually, at least in our industry, there has to be a cool factor that goes to it. They have to also look good, right?
Yeah.
Not too many really in-depth comic book characters who dress in 3-piece suits, right? So there's a bit of a flamboyant sort of look to it, but how do you still make that fantastic element resonate level. And I think if you can tap in with that, I think that those are good building blocks. I think there's you sort of see it in action movies and PG-13, even arguably even superhero movies or something, that it's way too easy, I think, to do good versus evil and make those black and white issues and put them out. And it's like, and you feel like you've seen it. Now the only thing that entertains people then is like, how many things do you blow up and how big are the ray guns and stuff like that. So, and then it's like, I don't know if that's enough. But if you can tap into character stuff, then people will respond to it. My partner, Robert Kirkman, created The Walking Dead. I mean, he world of zombies, but if you talk to Robert, he's like, the zombies are really sort of almost a backdrop, right? He was way more concerned about some of the things I was just talking about at the beginning, about the human condition. What happens if you shut off electricity and you shut off, normal modes of transportation and the food supply? How do humans react? Like, well, why would that happen? Oh, there's a zombie apocalypse. So again, that's the zombie part of it. But we did get a little bit of a hint of that during the pandemic when, and I to me, this is really going to be case history, I think, in 40 or 50 years. And I think if we never get invaded by Martians, this may also be one of the reasons why. Is that in the moment when the word got out that we were in a dire position and that there is a disease that may touch each and every one of us, our first move by the majority of us was not to beg and ask for a cure. It was to go and buy toilet paper.
Yeah.
Toilet paper. That was the story. And what seemed like what it should have been, the first order should have been food. I don't know. Because you don't have to worry about wiping your ass if you don't put any food. Like I've always said, you don't put anything in the top hole. You don't have to worry about the bottom hole. And yet we didn't go, hey, let's get a cure and let's go get some food. We worried about the bottom hole. It's like reverse engineering, right? Like all the things we worried about, like why that piece of it? And this is I'm telling you, in 50 years, they're going to go, guys, get this. Get what that society did. And this is why I think the aliens are going to come and land. They go, oh, there's intelligent species. And then they're going to run the data banks. And they're going to go, what did they do during the pandemic? Whoosh, and they're going to veer away. And they're going to go, man, I thought there was intelligence on that planet, right? We're weird when we get there. But it also shows you sort of the character and what's important to us and how we panic and peer pressure and all the above, which are all great character traits that if you're a writer, you can play on, which are some of the things that Robert Kirkman did in The Walking Dead. So if you can tap into, if a character's good, why, what's driving them, and not make it easy, and you can figure out like why they're bad and what drove them and not make them 100% bad, right? It just may be circumstances and they're just at a bad spot in their life or whatever. Like all of that's okay. You start adding gray to what otherwise is black and white. I think those are strong building blocks with a cool outfit.
So you mentioned Robert Kirkman, but are there any other creators that you're like super excited about right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't really get to look left and right on what my peers are doing. In your
infinite free time?
Yeah, like my head is down and I just do my thing and then I come up and I don't worry about counter programming or any of that, right? Like a couple of years ago, we expanded the Spawn universe. I came out with a bunch of issue number ones, and somebody said, "Hey, in that month, so and so is going to be coming out. So is going to be coming out with the book, Marvel or DC." And I'm like, "Okay, okay." I don't get to control them. Like I said, nice Todd on around the God. I got a book and I want to put it out now. And if people want to choose the other book, they'll choose the other book. Simple. That's simple, right? But I can't spend my time worrying about what everybody else is doing. I just have to get work done and keep plowing ahead with it. I would argue the same with criticism to your work, that it's like I can't get bogged down with whether people dislike it. And here's the piece. I can't get bogged down if people like it, right? I don't have time to dissect either one of those. The data will eventually come in when you see that your sales have doubled, or you see that your sales have been cut in half, right? People sort of vote with their dollars. And so you don't really need to read people's comments and stuff like that. You just do your thing, and then people are either going to endorse it or they're not going to endorse it, right? But if you get into the trap of worrying about what individuals say, like, you need too many individuals to make it succeed, so you're never going to please everybody, so you're just going to drive yourself in the corner, right? So I just do my stuff. I flash it up on screen. I go, here it is, and you have two choices. If you like it, you might want to go and purchase it, and if you don't like it, don't purchase it. Done. Life can actually be fairly simple if we allow it to be, but everything in between those two options, I am disinterested in. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in why you didn't buy it. And to some extent, I'm equally disinterested in why you did buy it, because I'm not looking for your approval, right? Like you say, you bought my last issue. Thank you. I'm very thankful that you bought it, but I don't need to know the reasons for it. Those are yours. They're personal to you, whatever, right? All I can do is make a product, finish it, and offer it up for sale, and that's it. I don't redo it. I don't go back and edit it depending on the comments. That's what I'm selling. This book with that cover, those are the people that are working on it, and here's the characters that are in it. Done. I'm not negotiating this with the fan base on any level. That's what I'm offering for sale. The question is any of that of interest to you? And if it is, thank you for giving me some of your hard-earned money and doing it. And if you don't, the one sentence I've had for every critic for 30 years is, if they're close, I usually tap them on the shoulder when I say it. It's like, then if it was me, I would spend my time and money on things I enjoy.
I feel like in addition to the Todd McFarlane tell-all, we also need the Todd McFarlane like art of Zen, because that is such an enlightened way to deal with a creative career, and especially in an age of social media where we're all so bogged down by everyone's comments and everybody's thoughts.
Well, okay, so I did it. I told people when I was at the San Diego panel, because I had a couple minutes, I go, this is easy. For me, this is easy, right? I've got like, first off, you guys think I'm looking for your approval. I'm not looking for your approval. I'm saying this is the cover, period.
Yeah.
If you like it, cool. If you don't like it, cool. Either one is of little interest to me. Like I'm saying, I'm just giving it to you as you think I'm giving it to you as an approval. Like, I want your approval. No, I'm saying as a fact, this is the cover. Yeah. That's it. Oh, you're also I think a lot of people are under the misconception that I'm trying to get all 8 billion people on the planet to like it. No, I need enough people so that I can do it again tomorrow. And I've been fortunate enough to find enough people every day to keep doing it for 40 years. Good, right? So, okay, that's what I like more, sure. But do I always have enough? Yeah, I've got enough. So it's okay if you've got 100,000 people that like your stuff and that the rest of the population of the planet doesn't. That's okay, right? You're good. You can make a great living. Oh, but let's just do some math. Here's the math that I do every day of my life. I've got a couple million people like my stuff globally. Cool. 2 million people divided by the population of the world, 8.1 billion people. And you take that fraction and you take it, the small fraction, and then you round it to the first whole number, and the number is 0. So that means that no matter what I do, the math is 0, which basically means if I put something out and everybody hates it, it's a 0. And if I put it out and everybody loves it, I'm a 0. It basically means on my worst day and my best day, am a zero every single day of my life. And here's why that's liberating. Once you accept that you're not really that important, then why not just give you personal satisfaction? Stop worrying about what fucking people think about it. Just do it. Just do it and have a good time and hope you find enough. Cool. We're there. Like, all the rest of it is just white noise to me. So it's like, I don't know. People go, Todd, man, you don't get too stressed out about sort of your social channels or whatever else. Like, no, because I don't read the fucking comments, good or bad, because I got work to do. And I'm glad that people support the work. So I'm going to continue to do the work. That's it. That's what I owe people, is the work. And so I put my head down and I grind out the work. And luckily, like I said, they're there. But I don't worry about the voting of it, because the voting always adds up to zero. It doesn't affect me one way or the other. So I'm going to enjoy Todd's life, because the only guy I get to control. So
I feel like I need to just go and like burn down all my outlines and all my plans and everything and like restart after this conversation. Amazing. Todd, thank you so much for talking to us today and for joining us virtually here in the Popverse. Oh my gosh. So thank you for joining me and for letting me share that with you. This comment, I have to say, Tom, love watching Ashley on the video. I was thinking, so if I don't leave myself up, you might remember from the early days of Enter the Popverse, the audio goes away. So I've been thinking about maybe like doing one of these or something so that you don't have to watch me watch my video. But this is my second time interviewing Todd. We have an interview up here from when we talked to him at New York Comic Con last year. He's always so friendly, so generous with his time. And truly, I felt like I had to go and rethink my life and my creative process after speaking to him. I am so excited for all of the stuff that he is getting up to. We were able to talk about a couple other things that can air at a different time. So if you enjoyed this interview, it's going to live here on our YouTube channel, but we're also going to have some more chats with Todd coming out later at an undetermined amount of time. But thank you everyone for joining us for this interview for Comic Talk with Graeme. Man, my mouth is so fuzzy today. And for this live episode of Enter the Popverse, it's my favorite thing I get to do as part of my job each and every single week. As always, you can find all of the stories and everything that we referenced down linked below this video right here. And if you head over to thepopverse.com, you get the full incomplete story, all of the amazing articles and features that we referenced and that we talked about today. You can get them at thepopverse.com. And while you're over there, why not get yourself a Popverse membership that gives you even more access to all of the incredible things that we are getting up, videos, photos, articles, and just so much more. This membership, like I mentioned at the top of the show, if you can't come live to New York Comic Con, is going to give you access to all of the stuff that we're streaming. And we are streaming so many things because New York Comic Con is coming up. So if you are planning to go live, snap up your tickets. There's barely any left and they're just hiding away. Thank you so much, JLS Comics. Great job joining me. I literally can't do this without all of you. So thank you for your kind words. And I send all of the love back through the screen and the power of the internet right to you, because yeah, you're the other side of this relationship. I'm talking to you right there. All right, friends, I have been Ashley Victoria Robinson, your video producer and host here in the Popverse, a virtual realm created by ReadPop. This was so much fun. Why don't we do it live again next week? I'll be here. Graham will be here. Special guest will be here live next week. So let's do it again next Friday. Stay safe, my friends. Have a wonderful day. I will see you next time.